It's nice to sit here with the parents. You know, maybe you don't go through, and I'm not picking, but you don't go through some of these things that the parents are going through. And Mr. J Street, I want to commend you. I did on the radio this morning for all your hard work. You're going to get thanked, but you're going to get criticized too, and you won't get the thanks, or you'll get more criticism than you will for the thanks. But thank you for what you have done. All these years you stood up for our children. So after it's all over, let's not let it stop here.
Exactly.
And let's find out why they're funding all these programs in the schools that are affecting our children, that continue to cause problems that we're having, along with the ones that we already got.
Josie, you're right. People like yourself do a great job, and when we're on Channel 28 on Sunday, we need to let people know what's going on in the schools, just as we know what else is happening. We also need to hold us accountable, elected officials, as well as the school board. Like I said, the school boards have a lot of, they're the ones that are sometimes approving defunding the positions, or saying that we want to reallocate funds one way or another. You get to that table and see what's happening. But there's still some programs going on in the school district where they think they're doing the right thing. I think all of a sudden there's a lot of change that's needed, no matter what they do.
I think Sister's point was probably the one, Josie, to keep things going. I'm here tonight because they invited me. Notice this was not set up by mucky muck churches that receive all the dollars. Or our big mucky muck guys. Our Muslim brothers and sisters set this up. They knew who to reach out to and who to call. Now, they may not agree with Pastor D, but they invited me to be on the panel anyway. That is the way we're going to make change.
That's right.
That's right. She pointed out, you begin with the babies.
That's it.
We have the right to start a fight over them.
Right.
So I say, I know I'll show up. How many of you tonight came here to support Pastor D? Now, if everybody that came to support Pastor D, and everybody that came to support brother, and everybody that came to support the children, but what I'm saying is each one of us has a lane and a sphere of influence. And if we're not afraid to let somebody else lead, we can bring it together and do just what Josie said, put the pressure where the pressure belongs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I want to tell everybody that this is not the last, because we need to get some judges on these panels, okay? Because they're the ones that putting our babies in the prison system. So there will be one coming up, God willing, in February. This is not the last, okay? And there's going to be more legislators. Believe me. You think this was a fairly good panel? Okay.
Well,
Watch the next.
We got some in the room now.
Okay.
We got
Watch the next.
Williams, State Rep Stephanie Bolden, and some others.
Yes.
I came in tonight loaded for very ready to fight about choice. Because I'm not a proponent of choice. By the same token, I don't have a monopoly on ideas, and I don't think I'm always right. I wasn't a proponent, I'm not a proponent of charter schools. But you can ask Ray, who's sitting there, when she decided she wanted to go forward with her school, I said, Ray, I sued Ray Clay twice and won. I'm not a proponent of that. But the bottom line is, what we're doing now ain't working. And if you want to go ahead, go ahead. I just ain't going to help you. And the success of what she's done speaks for itself.
Exactly.
My problem right now is, I'm 60 years old, gray-headed, talking, and the people who are impacted the most are not included in the conversation.
Exactly.
That's
And
right.
I sit here today as director of the center and councilman and all that because of the training and the opportunities that the late Hicks Anderson and other folks started with us in high school. And I'm saying all that to say, our voices were heard in high school and adults showed us how to be heard. Our voices were, we had the responsibilities in high school and adults showed us how to be responsible. And there's a void here in this conversation. And the old folks don't have all the answers, and if we continue to leave the young folks out, I believe we're going to continue to fail.
I don't know about anybody else, but I want to recognize these beautiful young people that, because I don't go nowhere without including them. And they are high school students, and they are listening. And believe you me, buddy, they are qualified, ready to lead, fired up, and ready to go, Jay. So they here, and they part of it. All you got to do is ask them, and you just heard from one of their relatives. But they are here, and I think we do need to recognize that there are some in the room. But you're right, we got to invite them to be a part of what we're doing.
And it's going to be done.
Josie said that we should not stop this right here. Now, Kevin Kelly said that, that it's another board that can say,
The school board.
the school board has a lot of impact to this. I've been with Pastor D for 2 years already. Not once have I seen anybody support the young kids as he did. For Trayvon Martin, he led a march on Rodney Square, over 1,000 people. That was very successful. One time for the Celeb program, he held a news conference because they didn't want to fund Celeb for going to school. If Pastor D can do that and he's one person and he can bring the young people and he can bring other people in, why can't y'all and us as adults, I'm a kid, but y'all as adults come together and go to the school board and be like, this is what I want for my kids. Because at the end of the day, it's really about us. And that's, y'all say that the children is our future. Well, then let us be the future. Step up and defend us because we're children. Some of us may not defend ourselves, but y'all are the adults and y'all can defend us. Step up to the plate and do it.
Can I just say that choice is already here. It's just limited.
Right.
Let's just establish that. When Delaware, and I strongly believe that when Delaware got hold of school choice, they just switched what choice meant and you choice out the district. But you got 17 states that choice out of public school, into private school, into charter school, because charter school is a part of choice as well, when you look at the complete picture. So choice is already here. I just want us to look at the fact that if the money is in the hands of the parents, then the parents have more power and have more say. So we need to look at that aspect of it. It's not somehow, it's not just about
choice.
Yes,
The
ma'am.
federal registry would give you all that, those guidelines, those information. A lot of this information in this book is not consistent with the federal law. And
Okay.
what you need to do is get that federal law and research it. You can set up your choice. The Delaware does not have the option to go to legislature and vote what they want on choice.
Yes,
It's a
ma'am.
federal law.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what
So-
you need to do.
So my point is that we seriously need to look at putting the money in the parents' hands and let them have more power and say in how their children are being educated.
I was going to, just to comment, what the sister just said, I think that that's a miseducation, because I think they make parents, or they lead parents to believe that if I put the money in your hands, then you have more power, but the truth is, you may have power, but then there are some parents who won't know what to do with that money, so then those kids that are left behind kind of are just left to themselves. So that's the same thing that the lady was saying earlier. She was saying, oh, you know, if you give the money to the parents, let the parents decide, you can educate your child. But what about the child who has a parent who is uneducated, who is on crack or unable to advocate for them?
That's what the
to
community is
support their child?
for.
What happens to them? And if all parents decide that I'm going to take the power and I'm going to choice my child out, then you're leaving still a number of kids behind.
Okay, let me say this. ShopRite came to town. And when ShopRite came to town, what I noticed that all the other supermarkets started fixing their stores up. Am I right? Acme redid their store. Huh? Even Save-A-Lot started upgrading themselves. So I personally feel that if there is choice available, public schools will also start fixing themselves up.
What we have here is an accumulation of 20, 25 years of ineptness, okay? And also it shows what the government has done for us. The people that are making a difference are the local people. I mean, he does things I don't agree with. A lot of the, but that doesn't mean we can't all work together. You got a single goal, that's what you need to work to. These people that are working in the neighborhoods, that's where it should be done. And I think also, he alluded to it, he grew up in a culture of learning. And that has to be stressed, whether it's a crackhead, whether it's a working mother, whether it's a welfare mother, whoever it is, whether they're black, white, green, yellow, there has to be a culture of learning, or nobody's going to learn. And, they said that, Kevin brought up the statistics, okay? Well, how come so many black kids are not learning? Could it be that where they're growing up, there's no culture of, graduating? Could it be there's no culture of learning in the house, in the community? Now, everybody here is obviously very interested, or they wouldn't be here.
Exactly.
But in the neighborhoods out there, there's a lot of people that don't feel that it's necessary for their children to go to school. And until that's addressed, all these programs and all this money ain't gonna do a damn thing.
I think we came here to find solutions, and I haven't heard too many. Now, just to qualify who I am, I lived in Eastlake. I went to George Gray, Woodlawn Junior High, and PS. I almost never saw a black person. We were segregated. What I hear tonight is you need to bring segregation back. We have 70,000 people who live in the city of Wilmington. Of that, I don't know what percent are children, but it can't be a hell of a lot. I believe that instead of all this other talk, you do whatever is necessary to reestablish, and don't get all excited, reestablish your schools in the city, like I was educated, like he said he was educated.
We were educated that way.
I could walk from my house all the way to PS.
Me too. Me too.
Simple. I didn't have to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go stand on the corner waiting for a bus at 6 o'clock in the morning, freeze my ass off, and go someplace. I was being educated in my neighborhood.
That's right.
And what we need now is whoever these leaders are to have all this influence should all get together, push the right buttons, not speeches, and tell whoever you have to tell that we're going to have our school in our city. And it's going to be 90% black, and we should have 90% people who he refers to as the common people out here that understand that people that need to be educated, have them educate them. With a little oversight, but not much. But some of these people up here are making great claims about what they can do independently and small. If that's true, and I don't doubt it, then it should be going all through the city. So you guys are sitting here making go do what really necessary has to be, which is bring the damn schools back in the city of Wilmington and have the city run. And I leave
Hold up, bro. Let me respond there. First of all, sir, no one up here, and I have the utmost respect for this gentleman next to me because as a small child, he was doing what he's doing now. Whether I disagree with him over issues or not, this man is anything but somebody who claims to do something. Everything you've heard him say and other people say J Street did and does, and he does. As for me, I don't do anything for the approval of the powers that be. I do it for the hood. So I frankly don't care if people believe in what I do. I think my work speaks for itself. But to your point, I would love to have PS, Howard, Wilmington High, and predominantly African American schools back. Problem. You're going to give us back our schools? Give us the money to go with it so we have the books, the computers, but don't give us schools and say you're on your own and trick us by talking segregation while you got money out there, lucrative programs and computers and what have you. Now, if you want, if you want these, and I agree with you, there's nothing wrong with schools being predominantly black or predominantly white if that's the geographical, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that. Sally's was a heck of a school when I was growing up. But what happened was, this didn't happen by accident. We got to put all the cards on the table and say, that we were receiving substandard education, substandard teachers, well, we had teachers that cared about us. We had teachers that cared about us, but I'm talking about when you talk about academic credibility and qualifications, we were receiving less money. So Dr. King and others had their noble goals in mind when desegregation came along. The problem is, when we got desegregation, we also got hoodwinked on the money. Our problem is not really at the root in the education system. The problem is we don't buy the prophecy of Malcolm X, Malik al-Haq Shabazz, who predicted what's happening with African American males in the streets today. He predicted, he prophesied and said, if you continue to keep black people in the condition that they are in America, subservient, undereducated, with a Frankenstein mentality, then someday that powder keg that you bury in the urban areas of America will explode. Well, Malcolm X's words are coming true. The powder keg is exploding. What are we going to do about the powder keg? Now everybody wants it out of their house. Send them over there. Send them over there. No, we're not going anywhere. We're going to demand, as he said, our rights to be respected as human beings, treated as human beings, educated as human beings, which we can bring into existence by any means necessary. And that's not a speech. That's a promise.
Just let me give a response, short response. Okay? When you establish an educational district within the city, the money that went somewhere else now comes with it.
Okay.
But you gotta do the right thing, and this guy knows what to do.
I don't know, because I think we can get to somewhere where you're going to go, but we have to look at these 4 schools. Just remember, when schools were segregated, we sued because we weren't learning. This isn't PS in Wilmington High where you and I went to school. It's a different day and age. And I agree with Pastor D. Resources have to follow young people. We need more resources to teach our young people. Don't worry. The people in the suburbs would love to have our own schools. Give it to them. Keep them from coming. The biggest change that we've had in this city is when the school busing changed from kids coming to school 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, and now kids in the suburbs don't have to come in the city. That's what's impacted, and that's the school board. What's wrong with everybody being so way? I agree with that.
But let's go back.
Oh, hold on.
Okay, but
Let him rebut. And then me. And then me.
It's not a rebut.
No, but
Everybody needs to understand the reality of the history. Okay? The litigation that brought about desegregation was brought about as a result of the 1968 Educational Advancement Act. 10 years later, the deseg order was implemented in 1978. And you had 11 school districts that had to merge into one with Wilmington's that were all in court, and they were fighting against it.
Right.
And the reality was, they wanted it so bad they could taste it. Because by the time we got to 1978, Wilmington had the highest paid teachers. Wilmington had a monopoly on the Title I money, and that was why our teachers made the most money. And what they wanted was not our kids, they wanted the money. Hicks, B.B. Coker and I were among the few that opposed the order, said we didn't want it, said it was going to be detrimental and get us where we were, and we were correct. We were criticized for it. But we said, we're not going to have Boston. We're not going to let kids get hurt. The court order is a court order. We got to make it work. My point is today, the exact same situation exists. It's still all about money and controlling it. And the question about the school board is that the school boards control the money. These documents that we agreed on in 2001 and 2008, they talk about resources and they talk about local control. The local control we do not have. That's what's missing. Now, the president and the secretary of education are proponents of what they're proponents of, which I may not agree with, but it doesn't matter. One thing the secretary of education said is that the destiny, the educational destiny of inner city children should be in the hands of mayors. Now, one of the questions we got to raise going forward is, do we keep the destiny and all the control in the hands of 5 school districts, or do we turn some or all of that over to the mayor and the city council who were duly elected And what responsibility is that, what is that going to turn into?
Okay. I think,
But it's all about, at the end of the day, what's fair, what's missing is the money, what's at stake, and what everybody wants their hands on is the money.
like everybody always says, show me the money. But choice is to do what? Make sure that every child, no matter what nationality, income, it is in, that little niche is educated equally across the board.
But it doesn't.
That's what it's supposed to be, ma'am. Okay? That's what it's supposed to be. Now, in other states, they have made sure that the children are taught equally. That their educational, the educational equality is equal. And that's what we're talking about bringing choice here to Delaware to do. And it's working in these other states. 17 other states. It's working. Delaware, we just failed. We're not talking about, actually kicking out the school system, getting rid of the all the teachers and the teachers union. I understand that. All the teachers union and the things that that's not what we're talking about. We are talking about making them do their job.
Upgrade.
Okay? Give them an upgrade. When you get a car, what do? You upgrade. Okay?
Thank you, brother, and thank everybody.
Thank you.
The panelists and the audience for coming.
It will be again, we're going to